Hello everyone. Today we will discuss how to utilize the ECG to localize the culprit lesion in acute myocardial infarction. Let us revise this ECG leads. We have 1, 2, 3 here, AVR, AVL, AVF, these are the limb leads, and we have V1 to V6 as chest leads. V1, V2 represent septal area, V3, V4 are called anterior leads, V5, V6, 1 and AVL are called lateral leads, 2, 3 AVF are inferior leads. Okay, this we should remember first. Now, when do we want to locate the culprit artery? It is possible only when there is ST elevation in the ECG. If there is ST depression, there is a poor correlation with the leads which are showing the ST depression and the area they represent. That means sensitivity and sensitivity is lesser for localizing the culprit artery if there is ST depression. There is a phenomenon called valence phenomena where there will be biphasic T in anterior pericardial leads, and there is another ECG called De Winter ECG which I hinted in one of our basic classes, which will show ST depression. If these two things are there, definitely it's in a LAD is the culprit artery. In these two ECG there will be ST depression. This exercise is going to be beneficial for STEMI. It may not be applicable for non-STEMI or unstable angina. Now see, this is the heart, this is the anterior surface of the heart, and you can see all the leads represented here. V1 and V2 are here. V1 is on the right ventricle, V2 is on the left ventricle. Between V1 and V2 is the septum, interventricular septum. And V3 and V4 are here looking at the anterior part of the heart. V5 and V6 are looking at the lateral part of the heart. V7, V8, V9 are looking at the posterior aspect of the heart. We generally do not have V7, V8 and V9. 2, 3 AVF. Okay. See, 1 and AVL, these are the limb leads. These are also looking at the lateral aspect of the heart. So the lateral aspect of the heart is seen by 1 AVL, V5, V6. Remember that. Whereas the inferior aspect of the heart is seen by 2, 3 AVF. So these are the various leads looking at these corresponding areas. Same thing represented here, but here we have the coronary anatomy. So from V1 to V4 we have anterior area, anterior surface of the heart, V5, V6 lateral surface, V7, V8 and V9 posterior surface, and 2, 3 AVF inferior surface. This V3 or V4 are on the right side, rightward aspect of the heart, basically to look at the right ventricle. Now look here, left main coronary artery comes and divides into left anterior descending artery and left circumflex artery. Here comes the right coronary artery. Okay. Now let us go into the anatomy further. Most important artery is the left anterior descending artery, ADA, left anterior descending artery. It supplies the anterior aspect of the IVS, anterior wall and the lateral wall of the LV. It is the most important artery. If this artery is blocked, the patient has high chance of developing heart failure or death. This is the posterior descending artery. This is the anterior descending artery. This is the posterior descending artery. So the posterior descending artery supplies the inferior posterior aspect of the IVS and inferior wall of left ventricle. Then you have this posterior descending artery, see, is usually a branch of right coronary artery as shown here. The right coronary artery comes here and becomes a posterior descending artery. And hence it is called right dominant system, which is seen in 85% of the individuals. In some individuals, this PDA comes from the circumflex artery. The circumflex artery can go behind the heart and come here and become the posterior descending artery. So if the posterior descending artery comes from the circumflex artery, it is called left dominant, which is seen in 10%. Okay. In 5% of individuals, there can be a small branch from right coronary artery, there can be a small branch from the left coronary artery as posterior descending artery. In that case, we call that as a codominant system. Now this is important to understand. So if somebody is having inferior myocardial infarction, it's most likely that it can be because of the right coronary artery occlusion. But it's also possible that there was a circumflex artery which was dominant and giving to PDA, and hence circumflex artery lesion led to inferior wall MI. So that's how you have to understand this coronary anatomy. Okay, see here, right coronary artery coming here and going and become the posterior descending artery. Okay, this is the right ventricular branch. Now here, see the right coronary artery has stopped short here. It is non-dominant. On the other hand, the circumflex artery has gone back and given the posterior descending artery. That's what I said. So this means it's right dominant, this means it's left dominant. So the dominance is based on which artery gives the posterior descending artery. So here it is between whether it is a right coronary artery or left coronary artery. But it doesn't mean that is the dominant artery of the heart. As I said, the most dominant or most important artery of the heart is always left anterior descending artery. So this is the left ventricle. Left ventricle is like a bullet. So we have seen already anterior wall, anterior superior wall, posterolateral wall, inferior wall. That's posterolateral wall is supplied by the circumflex. Inferior wall is supplied with the right coronary artery. Rest of the thing is supplied by the left anterior descending artery. Now let us understand this again line diagram. We are going to see all our ECGs with this line diagram. Left main coronary artery divides into left anterior descending artery and left circumflex artery. In the left anterior descending artery, generally the first branch is a septal branch, S1 branch or major septal branch. Here they have shown as a small branch. It will be generally a very long major septal branch. Then comes the major diagonal artery. Then the second diagonal, third diagonal, smaller diagonals will occur. Okay, so this area of the left anterior descending artery prior to the major diagonal and major septal is called proximal left anterior descending artery, proximal segment. This segment is the mid segment, and all these segments are called distal segment of the left anterior descending artery. This is a circumflex artery which is non-dominant, which is giving to obtuse marginal branches. It is highly variable. Circumflex artery can give some 3 or 4 obtuse marginal branches. At times it can give a single small obtuse marginal branch. This is the right coronary artery, this is the right ventricular branch, and then it gives to posterior descending artery and posterior left ventricular branch. Okay, again this right ventricular branch is very important. Now let us come to this ECG. This is a patient with anterior wall MI, and see the V1 there is ST elevation. So there is ST elevation in V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, 1, AVL, everywhere there is ST elevation. So septal wall, anterior wall, lateral wall. So anteroseptolateral or extensive myocardial infarction should be the term for this. Because there is V1 involvement, the lesion has to be very proximal. And where is the lesion? Here is the lesion. Can you see the lesion here? Here is the lesion. Okay, very proximal. It's the left anterior descending artery. Now this is another example where again there is ST elevation in all these areas, and this is called tombstoning pattern. It is like tombstone, right? Whenever such a thing occurs, patient is in a very sick status. Unless we intervene very early, this patient is going to die. Now here again the lesion is in the very proximal left anterior descending artery before even the arising of the S1 branch. Another example, again there is ST elevation of all these leads whichever I said. In addition, there is a right bundle branch block pattern. Whenever there is MI and either right bundle branch block or left bundle branch block, usually the site of lesion is a very osteoproximal location, that is this location. So I have given you several examples to show that this location is a very dangerous location where the patient can die, and hence we have to remember this pattern. Okay. Now what is happening here? V1 is not showing ST elevation. There is ST elevation from V2, V3, V4 and all. So that means V1 is escaped. V1 represents the basal septal area which is supplied by the major septal branch. So where will be the lesion in this patient? Here the previous ECG I put the dot here, now the dot is here. It is in the mid LAD. That means in this patient the S1 has escaped, probably diagonal has escaped, the patient is having the lesion in the mid LAD. Now let us see here, there is ST elevation in lead 1, ST elevation in AVL, there is reciprocal changes in 2-3 AVF, there is no STT change in other anterior leads. See that? See, whenever there is no STT changes in the anterior leads, chest leads, generally the main left anterior descending artery is not involved. Then what is the reason for ST elevation in 1 and AVL? That is because the lesion has involved the diagonal branch. At times it is possible that the major diagonal alone can be occluded. That will result in this kind of ST elevation in 1 and AVL. We call this as high lateral MI. Many a times, rarely, an isolated OM branch occlusion also can cause high lateral MI, but more commonly it is the major diagonal branch occlusion. So you have ST elevation in 1 and AVL, the site of occlusion is in the major diagonal branch. Now what is happening here? You have anterior wall MI, see that? You also have lateral wall MI. However, V1 has escaped. V1 is not showing ST elevation. As I showed, here the lesion has involved the diagonal branch, because even that so-called 1 and AVL is elevated, that means the major diagonal branch is also involved. But however, V1 is not involved, that means the septal branch has escaped. So where will be the lesion? The lesion will be between the first septal branch and the major diagonal branch. Okay. So After the S1 branch, the LED is occluded, thereby the occlusion has reduced the blood supply in all the major diagonal and the rest of the LED. So this is how we are going to localize the site of lesion in LED. You got the point. So if the V1 is involved, that means the occlusion has to be very proximal. If one AVL is not involved and V1 and V2 are not involved, the occlusion is either mid or distal LED. On the other hand, one AVL is involved but V1 is not involved. The occlusion is between the S1 and the D1 branch. It's not very difficult. Whatever I have told, you can recollect once again, you will understand. Okay, now let us come to the inferior myocardial infarction. This patient, here is the inferior wall. This is lead 3, this is lead 2, this is lead 1. Whenever there is inferior MI, the vector of the depolarization is more towards lead 3. Just remember this. Whenever a circumflex artery is involved, circumflex artery, it supplies the lateral wall and also the inferior wall if there is a dominant circumflex artery. Because there is inferior and lateral wall involvement in circumflex artery, the vector is moving more towards lead 2. Here it is more towards lead 3, the vector of depolarization, but here the vector of depolarization is more towards lead 2. So in circumflex, lead 2 will be dominant. In RC occlusion, lead 3 will be dominant. What do we mean by this? Let us see here. See here, lead 2, lead 3, AVF, there is ST elevation. But lead 3 is much taller than lead 2. This means there is right coronary artery occlusion. See this example, 2, 3, AVF, all are showing ST elevation, but lead 2 is taller than lead 3. So here the most probably the occlusion is in the circumflex coronary artery. So in inferior posterior myocardial infarction, if 3 is more than 2, it is RC occlusion. If 2 is more than 3, it is circumflex occlusion. There is also one more clue. You look at lead AVL. If lead AVL shows ST depression, again it is right coronary artery. If AVL shows ST segment flat or ST elevation, it is circumflex coronary artery. This is second clue. There is ST elevation lead 2, lead 3 and AVF. Lead 3 is more prominent than lead 2. See the AVL. AVL is showing ST depression. Basically this ST depression is the reciprocal change of lead 2. So this simply means that this is a right coronary artery involvement. Okay, right coronary artery involvement at this point. Why do I say this point? You will come to know why it is not very proximal. You will come to know subsequently. See the lead V1. V1 is very normal. Okay, V1, V2 are normal. There are changes only in 2, 3 AVF and lead 3 is more than lead 2. The site of occlusion is here in the right coronary artery. Now this is what I said as reciprocal change. In the lead AVL, when you invert, it looks like lead 2. See ST elevation is there. The reciprocal change means it is exactly the opposite way of the ECG recording in the lead, which is diametrically opposite. Now let us come here. There is ST elevation lead 2, lead 3 and AVF. Lead 3 is taller than lead 2. So we know that it is right coronary artery. Now look at V1 and V2. There is ST elevation in V1. Why should there be ST elevation in V1 when there is inferior wall involvement? Okay, because whenever there is a ST elevation in lead 1, we should suspect that there is also involvement of the right ventricle, that is right ventricular infarction. See, as I said earlier, the V1 is sitting on the right ventricle. So if V1 is showing ST elevation, we should suspect right ventricular infarction. Now, how do you confirm that it is right ventricular infarction? We should take additional lead. Okay. See there, here the occlusion is in the proximal right coronary artery prior to the right ventricular branch. So whenever the right coronary artery is occluded prior to the right ventricular branch, in addition to the 2, 3 AV of ST elevation, you also have ST elevation V1. Okay. Now here is another example, 2, 3 AVF, 3 taller than 2, there is ST depression and ST elevation V1. Now I want to confirm that there is RVMI. What do? I take the right sided leads, V3R, V4R, same position as at the left side. Only then the lead 3 is kept here, chest lead 4 is kept here, and then the ECG is repeated. What do I get? I get like this. See, this is V4R, this is V3R. They are now showing ST elevation. See, imagine that these leads are on the right side. On the right side, there is no other ventricle other than right ventricle. So if V3R and V4R are showing ST elevation, that's a definite indication that it's a right ventricular MI. So this patient has a very proximal right coronary artery occlusion prior to the RV branch. That is the conclusion of this ECG. See that again? Here again the occlusion is very proximal prior to the RV branch. So in inferior posterior myocardial infarction, what is the role of V4R? That's the right sided V4 lead. If there is ST elevation, that is right coronary artery occlusion prior to the RV branch. If the ST is flat and the TA is positive, it is probably right coronary artery, but after the RV branch, that is RV infarction is not there. It is right coronary artery only, but RV infarction is not there. On the other hand, if you see ST depression or a negative T in this V4R, that is more in favor of circumflex occlusion. What MI it is? 2, 3 AVF or showing ST elevation. So it is inferior myocardial infarction. Again, apply the same rule. Lead 3 is taller than lead 2. So it's going to be right coronary artery. There is one more clue here. See, there is a lot of conduction disturbance, isn't it? The ventricular rate is very low. Ventricular rate is about 35 to 40 only, and there is complete heart block. So whenever there is a conduction block, usually it indicates that the right coronary artery is the culprit vessel, because the artery to AV node is usually a branch of the right coronary artery. So whenever there is a conduction disturbance, the usual culprit artery is right coronary artery involvement. Now let us come to this inferior wall MI. Here again inferior wall MI. 2, 3 AVF. But clearly 3 is much higher than the lead 3. So this is the first point to say that this is a circumflex involvement. Now next I said look at AVL. What did I say? It should show ST depression and T inversion opposite to lead 2. But what it is showing? It is showing normal looking, or even lead 1 is showing mild ST elevation. So whenever lead 1 and AVL are not showing ST depression, which are the reciprocal changes of inferior leads, rather ST elevation, the lesion is in the circumflex artery, which is the dominant circumflex artery. Correspondingly, there is ST depression here. We will come to this again later. So the lesion is here in the circumflex artery. See that the circumflex artery is continuing as PDA, posterior descending artery. Right coronary artery is ending here itself as a non-dominant artery. The circumflex artery is continuing as posterior descending artery, and the lesion is here in the circumflex artery. So this is the interpretation of CCG. So to prove that there is involvement of the posterior MI, we should take posterior leads. V8 comes at the inferior end of the scapula, V9 is towards the midline, and V7 is lateral to the V8. Okay. Now, if you take the posterior leads, V7, V8, V9, they show ST elevation. So that means there is posterior myocardial infarction. So we have inferior myocardial infarction, we have posterior myocardial infarction. This combination of inferior posterior myocardial infarction is generally because of the involvement of the circumflex artery. Then what is the reason for ST depression V1 to V3? This also we already discussed during our basic class. The same ST elevation, whatever you see here, is being seen. These are posterior leads. These are the anterior leads. The same ST elevation in these leads are seen as ST depression by the anterior leads. So even if we are not regularly taking V7, V8 and V9, using our V1 to V3, we can say that there is posterior myocardial infarction. So whenever there is inferior MI is associated with ST depression in V1 to V4, V1 to V3, that means it's an inferior posterior myocardial infarction. So the V1, V2, V3, which are reading the ST elevation of the V7, V6, V7, V8. So these three ECGs, if they are seen from behind, will be like this. So it's a very clear indication that there is a posterior myocardial infarction. And whenever there is this is isolated posterior myocardial infarction, there is no inferior involvement. So where is the lesion? It's a non-dominant circumflex artery. The lesion is involved in the major OM branch. Okay, either the main circumflex would have been occluded or the major OM branch would have been occluded, and hence only the posterior area is involved. When only the posterior wall is involved, this is how you see in the ECG. This is another example. See that V1, V2, V3 are showing ST depression, and hence it's going to be a posterior wall involvement. And when you take the patient and do the repeat ECG in V7, V8 and V9, you see ST elevation. So this is the ECG, this is how you diagnose posterior wall involvement. Okay, again same location of the site of the culprit lesion is in the circumflex artery, which is non-dominant. Why do I say non-dominant? Inferior leads are not showing ST elevation. If inferior leads also showed ST elevation, that means the circumflex artery would have come like this and supplied the PDA, and it would have been a dominant circumflex artery, and hence I should have seen ST elevation in 2-3 AVF. Because there is no ST elevation in 2-3 AVF, only V1, V2, V3 showed ST depression. I am calling this as a posterior MI, and the lesion is circumflex coronary artery. So now let us come to another important thing. There is ST elevation in AVR and V1. Where ST elevation in AVR is very rare, but if it occurs, it's very dangerous. You see the ST elevation in AVR and V1. If the ST elevation in AVR is more than V1, it suggests left main trunk occlusion. If the ST elevation V1 is more than AR, it could suggest osteoproximal LAD disease, or it could be multivessel disease also. See here, there is ST depression everywhere, ST depression. But these are the two leads showing ST elevation. V1 is showing ST elevation, AVR is showing ST elevation. Now AVR ST elevation is more than V1 ST elevation. So most probably this patient has left main coronary artery lesion up to here. See that? It's the most dangerous area to have. These patients have high risk of dying immediately and they need to be attended very fast. Now, next example. Here again, ST depression everywhere. ST depression everywhere. If you don't keenly look at this, you will simply diagnose this as a case of non-STEMI or something, or LVH or something. You waste your time and the patient will die in front of your eyes. So you should always catch this ST elevation. Here you see the V1 ST elevation is slightly prominent than AVR ST elevation. This can still be left main occlusion disease, or it could be a LAD osteoproximal disease like this. Okay, very osteoproximal LAD disease, and hence it is showing this kind of ECG. Okay, see this another example again, ST depression everywhere, ST elevation AVR and V1. Actually this patient had multivessel disease, that is he had lesion on all the 3 points. So whenever you have ST depression in multiple leads except in AVR and V1, and AVR and V1 are showing ST elevation, that means it could be either left main coronary artery disease, or it could be osteoproximal LAD disease, or it could be a multivessel disease. Okay, so to summarize the entire thing, whatever we have discussed so far. If the patient has ST elevation in V1 to V6, 1 and AVL, that means all the areas are involved. Is antro, septo, lateral or extensive anteroral MI, subproximal LAD before S1. Okay. The lesion has skipped the V1, ST elevation has skipped the V1, V1 is not involved. That means it is still anterolateral MI, but probably the mid LAD after the S1. Okay. Suppose the lead 1 and AVL are not involved, only V2 to V6 are involved, which I showed an example. That means it is anterior myocardial infarction in the mid LAD after S1 and D1. That is S1 also escaped, D1 also escaped, and hence you have leads showing the changes only in the chest leads, limits are not showing any change. Suppose the chest leads are not showing any ST elevation, only lead 1 and AVL are showing ST elevation. That means there is high lateral wall myocardial infarction, and here the culprit lesion is in the D1 or OM1. Okay, isn't it very clear? Now this is all part of the anterior MI. Okay, all these are anterior wall myocardial infarction. This is high lateral wall myocardial infarction where only the major diagonal branch is involved. Now let us come to inferior wall myocardial infarction. In inferior myocardial infarction, 2-3 AVF show ST elevation. If 3 is more than 2, that means it is right coronary artery. Okay, if 2-3 AVF are involved, but V4 are also shows ST elevation, V1 also shows ST elevation, that means in addition to inferior wall, there is also right ventricular myocardial infarction. That means the right coronary artery is occluded before RV branch. Isn't it clear? Okay. Now let us come to next one. We have 2-3 AVF ST elevation, but there is ST depression in V2 and V3. That means there is involvement of inferior and posterior walls. This combination of inferior and posterior myocardial infarction is commonly because of the dominant circumflex artery. Okay. On the other hand, you have only ST depression in V1 to V3, but ST elevation in V7 and V8. No other changes. I mean, it's a pure posterior myocardial infarction. That is because of the involvement of the non-dominant circumflex or major OM artery. Okay. If all these things are showing ST depression, only AVR is showing ST elevation, AVR and V1. That means patient is at very risk. There is global hypokinesia, and this patient is having a very high risk of sudden death because the lesion is in the left main trunk.